Hello everyone, P. McGee here with another draft battle analysis video and recap. This time looking at my week 3 match in the BBL, the Bandless Battlers League, which has been an Ubers format in which you can draft one or two Ubers Pokemon and then assemble what is otherwise a pretty normalized draft squad. And then it's a 9-week or 8-week season, and we are in week 3. I currently stand at 2-0 after getting strong starts in my week 1 and week 2 match, looking to keep it going in week 3 and continue to expand and showcase the rest of the team, as Zygarde has been a very centralizing force on the team so far. So this is my match against the Blazing Savage, or Almighty Savage, as I believe he's referred to on the Discord. And before we get into this match, we're going to take a look at the team he had available to him and then the pieces I brought to best address that. So, the Death Valley Chandelers is the team name. He is relying on the Groudon and Kyurem Black Ubers combination. Very, very potent offensive core, very strong defensive pieces with the Groudon if he needs it to be. Very scary Sun mode he can work with. So there's a lot that plays well with that. And then he also has the Mega Lopunny to work with. And although Groudon and Kyurem are mostly intended as physical attackers, they do both have very respectable special attack stats, and so they have the option to go mixed. Things like Solar Beam on Groudon are always things you need to be aware of, or Freeze Dry on Kyurem Black. Aegislash, good little mixed attacker, good wall if he wants to use it that way. Togekiss, which when you look at the rest of the team, you see the over-reliance on Togekiss to be a singular role, that singular role being defog support. The team has otherwise no way of clearing hazards off the field, and it makes it a very exploitable team flaw that I will try to showcase in my team build when we get over there. So Togekiss really can do quite a few things, but within the confines of his team, I think it's very restricted in its opportunities to be physical or offensive in general, just because it's very reliant on defog support if the team feels that hazards are going to be stacked against it. Milotic, very difficult to break wall. Flame Orb with the Marvel scale makes it just really hard for me to push through it. So finding ways to address that is always going to be difficult week to week, and you'll see that I have quite a few struggles in how to get around that in this match. Lycanroc Dusk, not super scary, just a decent little fast mon. Could pressure some of my Ubers. I believe my Genesect isn't loving the Lycanroc Dust just because it can go faster and hit pretty reasonably hard. Venusaur is somewhat scary just because of the Sun Support Chlorophyll mode. I am wary of the fact my Necrozma can kind of wall that out and easily one-hit KO with Photon Geyser, and I imagine he is as well, as it will not show up on this match, even though I think it has an overall good matchup against me. D-Axis Defense, again, just another hard-to-break wall option. Unfortunately, the team is just very vulnerable to things like Toxic and any sort of status moves, just because if they can't bring Togekiss as that, again, support Mon with Defog and Heal Bell, then the team is prone to some of the Toxic stalls or hazard stacking. Although Deoxys defense can do quite a bit with Spike, Stealth Rock, Teleport, just pivot around and cause problems with its walling ability. Alolan Persian, not super scared of it, kind of niche, but it has a decent speed tier, and the dark typing is always something to be wary of. Meganium, no real threat at all. Absolutely no reason that should ever show up over Venusaur, pretty much, though it does exist as an option, I guess. So that's his team. As mentioned before, I've been pretty reliant on my Zygarde Genesect core. Florges and Pyukumuku have been serving as important defensive pieces, and then I'm still trying to find windows to get my psychic terrain mode in. So Necrozma, Indeedee, Halucha have not yet gotten a chance to shine. Need to find a way to incorporate them into the team builds, just because that's a very scary mode if unaddressed by the opponent. I just haven't found a way to maximize its potency in my prep phases yet. And then Rotom Frost, I'm not expecting to see much usage out of. And then Blacephalon remains a very potent offensive mon week to week. So before we get into that match, let's go over how I was preparing to address that. So I'm going to start, instead of with Zygarde, I'm going to start this week with the Smeargle, because the entire team build is actually built around maximizing what the Smeargle can do. As I've already mentioned, the hazard removal options against on my opponent's side are super limited. It's entirely reliant on the Togekiss to click defog, and if the Togekiss isn't in a position to do that, or the Togekiss doesn't show up, then the hazards I set are going to stick. And this team is just really, really vulnerable to webs. Going back to their mons, Megalopony can't protect itself from webs, so if webs are on the field, it will take that. Groudon is very unlikely to be running boots just because it doesn't have a lot of vulnerability to normal hazards like rocks or spikes, so it's not really incentivized to bring those. Kyurem Black has reasons to bring them. My team doesn't scream hazards either. If we look at my team, the only natural hazard setter on my team is Necrozma with rocks. So my team doesn't really incentivize opponents to bring a lot of hazard control options because outside of Necrozma, I'm reliant on Smeargle if I want to put any hazards up. And so it's just difficult for an opponent to want to waste a move slot or an entire mon to commit to that when it's very unlikely that I'm even bringing hazards to begin with. But I opted to this week with Smeargle, just going as fast as possible because he has garbage stats with some HP so that he can maybe take 2 hits if the right situation emerges. Focus Sash because it's probably not going to emerge. And he's probably going to be one hit KO'd if not for that Focus Sash. Spore because if we look at his team, there's only two mons that are protected from Spore. Venusaur, which could show up and has some reason to show up, and Meganium, which has absolutely no reason to be there. Otherwise, unless he's wearing, again, safety goggles, and my team does not incentivize carrying safety goggles, then his team is just overall very prone to being hit by that Spore on turn 1. Sticky webs for all the reasons already mentioned. Nuzzle because then I can status the Venusaur if I need to in the sun to get faster than it on the assumption it's modest nature. If it's a timid nature max speed, it would still outspeed me, but my assumption is that's not the kind of Venusaur that would show up. And then Endeavor just to play around with that if the Edge Slash is gone or not in action for whatever reason, I can click Endeavor freely once I'm at 1 HP and basically drag something else to the grave with me. So overall, Smeargle is really just built on trying to get webs up turn 1 and then being a sacrificial fodder when I need to regain momentum in a game. So that's what his goal is. We're going to be leading with him because that's the best way to try to utilize Smeargle if you have the window to do it. And so I wanted to start with him because a lot of speed tiers are built on the expectation of getting those webs up early game. So the Zygarde with the 267 speed is fast enough that it will outspeed Megalopony after the webs take down its speed by a tier. So again, that's why it's relevant. Coil to get a little stronger. I opted for Coil over Dragon Dance because after 1 Coil, I have a very good chance of living Icicle Spear from uh, the Kyurem. I believe it's pretty much guaranteed at 3 hits I will live. The Icicle Spear from a Life Orb, max attack, Jolly Kyurem. So my odds of being able to 2-hit KO it back are very strong, I think guaranteed. And so if I can get a coil up, then I can 2-hit KO the Kyurem, and I liked that. Rest and Toxic because I figure something might try to Toxic Stall me to death, or maybe the Milotic would try to do that. So I could coil a couple of times in front of it while it tries to Toxic Stall me and then rest and get my health back, or if I got burnt by surprise. Either way, Zygarde's in a decent position to do some good damage if given the opportunity on the field. The Genesect is running a choice band. I opt to still, even though just because I think Kyurem has a reason to carry the heavy duty boots and be safe from the webs, I still opt to make Genesect faster than it and go for the choice band with just enough speed to get past the Kyurem at 319. U-turn for momentum, Iron Head for good stab and good wall breaking potential, Blaze Kick specifically for the IG Slash so I can punish it hard, and then Extreme Speed in case I need that late game and I can't get faster than something for some reason, or if I'm dealing with the Venusaur or the Sun, I need a reliable way to kind of get it off the field. But otherwise, really just meant to come in, do a massive amounts of damage, and then pivot out, most likely with U-turns, unless the Edge Slash is gone, and then I might be more incentivized to click Iron Head. But as long as the Edge Slash is alive, I'm just kind of forcing it out into the field and clicking U-turn. The Mega Venusaur, just enough speed investment to outspeed the Kyurem in webs in case the Kyurem isn't running heavy duty boots and so it would be prone to webs. I outspeeded at that point. Chlorophyll, just in case I want 1 turn in the sun and need to do something with that before I Mega Evolve. Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Synthesis, Earth Power. Pretty much hits everything as hard as I wanted to. Synthesis to get some health back in case I need to actually tank something for a couple of turns for some reason. The Blacephalon, Choice Specs, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, Psychic, and then if I'm in Sun and I'm having issues with Milotic, then I can just click Solar Beam and do massive amounts of damage to the Milotic. So I keep that as a backdoor option in case I need it late game. Just enough speed investment again to get past the Kyurem. I wasn't ever going to outspeed the Mega Lopunny unless it's affected by webs, so there's no reason to go beyond that, which is this next fastest thing. And then pretty much if I can get a speed boost early game, or if I can get rid of not a speed boost, a special attack boost early game from the beast boost, or if I can feint the Lopunny early, then Shadow Ball just really starts decimating the team because there's no switch ins on that. Finally, good old Larry coming back in with the Rocky Helmet as a specific way to deal with Mega Lopunny. I will get into the turn one play that you're going to see and what I was going for on that. Toxic, counter, recover, Mirror Coat. In hindsight, no, you actually know what I'm content with what I did. I debated dropping either counter or Mirror Coat to run Baton Pass. I'll explain the situation for why that's relevant early in this game. I opt not to. I believe Pyukumuku does survive a Giga Drain from the Venusaur, even with a life orb. So I was in a position to mirror coat that if I needed to, if that became a mode of desperation. And then I liked having counter as a way to deal with subs, but I I saw some value in running Baton Pass, and so I almost put that on, but it did not come together. And then I go for innards out over unaware just because I'm in a position where I don't want to be on the field too long with Pyukumuku, and if I need to sack Pyukumuku to something, so if my Pyukumuku is already chipped and I need to deal with the Venusaur and the Venusaur's lowish on health, I can kind of throw away Pyukumuku to get the innards out damage on that. Let me get back to his team a little more. Or if Kyurem Black is in a life orb with the Bolt Strike, I think that's the right move, or Fusion Bolt. I'm not really in a great position to deal with Fusion Bolt from the Kyurem Black. So I'm willing to throw my Pyukumuku away from that. Or if the Kyurem Black surprises and runs Freeze Dry and Specs or something like that, again, I can throw away Pyukumuku to do good amounts of damage back with the innards out and still keep momentum on my side because then I can come back again with an offensive option and keep going. So I liked the utility that offered in this game and my ability to use him as a sacrificial lamb if necessary to regain control of my match. So that's the team. That's what I was generally opting for. Trying to get webs up immediately, using Larry as necessary as a defensive piece, and then otherwise just trying to apply constant pressure with the Zygarde, the Genesect, the Venusaur, and the Blacephalon. Just going against my natural playstyle, I tend to lean more into defensive play, but looking at the wall breaking potential on this team and the ability of it to be really thick if he needs it with the Deoxys, the Milotic, the Aegislash, the Togekiss, I didn't like my ability to try to outwall him. I didn't think it would be successful. I couldn't survive with things like my Hikamuku couldn't endure things like Hero and Black, and so I just didn't like the opportunity I had in that game to succeed. So I changed my playstyle accordingly to try to catch him off guard and bring something surprising. So with that in mind, we're going to get into the match, and I'll break it down, specifically the turn one. So I'll get it going. So I lead Smirgle. Obviously, hold on. Obviously, Smirgle is what I want to lead with because I want to get those webs down early. I know without a fact he's going to lead Mega Lopunny as soon as he sees Smirgle in the team preview. Any other lead would be bad because Mega Lopunny has either Fake Out or Triple Axle to work with, both of which can get around Smirgle's Focus Sash, which he's obviously going to carry. Everything else is pretty prone to Smirgle clicking Spore just because they can't 1-hit KO it. Possibly the Kyurem Black could offer an option against that as well with the Icicle Spears. Either way, if Kyurem Black was to have led, I would have hard switched into Genesect on that expectation. Or if Mega Lopunny leads here, which is what I wanted to counter lead against Smirgle, I didn't expect I would get a chance to put webs up on turn one. I just needed to force this Lopunny to attack me on turn one. And so I lead Smirgle just to force that Lopunny in and to force the Lopunny to do an attack so that I can hard switch to the Pyukumuku, which was always my expectation on this turn one game. He goes for Triple Axle. Fortunately for him, it misses after the first attempt because that was going to do massive amounts of damage to the Lopunny. He could have lost nearly half its health on that Triple Axle, and Larry would have taken pretty minimal amounts of damage overall. Anyway, I get the turn one that I want, which is to scare this Lopunny off the field. Because now this Lopunny knows it can't deal with the Pyukumuku. It doesn't have any incentive to even click U-turn because it's just going to do small amounts of chip damage and the Lopunny is going to lose more health. He doesn't have a way to get health back onto the Lopunny, so damage taken is damage that it's going to keep all game. And so I know it's going to hard switch on turn 2 because it has to. It's just in a really bad spot. And so I'm going to call that and go straight in with my Smeargle, which is going to easily outspeed this Slash. Gets me the Spore I need on turn 2. And as I've already said, his only defog option on his team is the Togekiss, which isn't here. So as soon as these webs go on, I know these webs are sticking the whole game. So I get those out on turn 2. Very happy with that. I'm going to go into Venusaur on the expectation that Slash wakes up and it attacks. It does a decent amount of damage, but I'm going to Mega Evolve and get that health back, so I'm not too worried. The Slash is just not in a position to handle this Mega Venusaur anymore, so I'm able to force it out early. I get an Earth Power for minimal amounts of damage, but I expect it's going to do an Ice attack, and so I'm going to switch into, I believe, my Genesect. But my Genesect doesn't want to 1v1 this Groudon, just going to U-turn out of this situation as I do not like it. Come back in with my Smeargle because I need to get myself out of this for free. Smeargle has a full health and an unactivated Sash, so I know I can come in with Smeargle, absorb the attack, and as long as it's not a Scarf, which it's not likely to be, just because Groudon doesn't really have a ton of incentive to run Scarf against me, the only thing it might go faster than, really, is my Genesect, which also is incentivized to run Scarfs a lot of weeks, so it's just a hard item for it to run, and it feels like it's accomplishing things, because the things that are faster than it, my Blacephalon and my Genesect, are both incentivized to wear Scarfs a lot, so it's just a really it's a risky item to carry for what might not even be effective in the end. So he's not carrying the Scarf, which is revealed when he flees away. Gives me another chance to safely click Spore. The Slash is going to take that Spore, creates a free window for Zygarde, but unfortunately the Kyurem comes in. I've not yet gotten any boosts on this. I don't know what kind of Kyurem that is, and I want to be cautious. Kyurem comes in with an Ice Beam, reveals that it's probably more special attacking in nature or mixed. Either way, not great for me. The Slash comes back in. I know it's going to come in, so I U-turn on that predictively. Come in with Blacephalon. I'm going to click Shadow Ball just because I don't think that the Lopunny is incentivized to come in here. It's too risky of a situation for Lopunny to come in on, as both Fire and Ghost attacks are going to be super effective against the Slash. That I don't see much advantage in him risking his Lopunny. So I expect that the Melodic is going to come in here. I call that successfully as it goes for a Shadow. I go for the Shadow Ball. It activates its Flame Orb. I know it's in a position where it's probably forced out. Again, Kyurem comes in, which catches me off guard. Ice Beam nearly KOs me, probably in roll range. Very fortunate I lived that. I don't get the poison proc, unfortunately. But I'm going to switch out into my Genesect again. Again, predictably U-turn because that would have KO'd if it stayed in, or if he comes in with Slash, I still maintain momentum. I'm going to come back in with Blacephalon. And so when I come back in with Blacephalon, I know from my calcs, unless I low roll this, Flamethrower is going to two-hit KO the Milotic, just because with the burn damage on top of it, I'm going to do like, I want to say like 26, 27%-ish with the Flamethrower, which on top of the burn damage will pretty reliably put me into the range to KO Melodic on the turn after. And so I can super freely click Flamethrower here. Something is going to faint. If he comes in with anything, it's going to faint. If he comes in with Milotic here, he probably loses the game. So he smartly comes in with the, not smartly, but he sacrifices the Lopunny just to keep his game alive. Any other piece that comes in here, or I'm sorry, if Melodic had come in here, he would have lost the game because I would have gotten the boost off Melodic, and then he would have had nothing to deal with my boost on the Flamethrower, and I would have just tore through with Blacephalon. So he was smart not to sack the Milotic. Probably should have sacked the Slash there, but I guess he wanted to prevent me from clicking Spore again in this game. Maybe should have thrown away the Persian. It doesn't seem like it's offering a lot. Anyway, he loses the Megalopony early in this game. I'm going to fish for a Flamethrower just to do damage, see if he attacks me by mistake or flip turns. Fortunately for him, he clicks Recover to keep his Milotic alive. I'm going to keep Flamethrowering to see if I can bait him into attacking. It's not working. He's just going to keep Recover healing. So I'm going to come back in with Venusaur. Pretty safely click Recover or Synthesis here after it's recovered because it just doesn't have a way to pressure my Venusaur. The Synthesis comes in, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm fast enough to outspeed Kyurem Black, which is at a 95 speed tier, this Groudon at a 90 speed tier at the -1. And we've established I don't think it's carrying Scarf because it fled on a Smeargle when it would have outsped if it was running a Scarf. So my expectation is my Venusaur is faster than it. I click Giga Drain because I'm a Modest Nature, pretty much max special attack. That's going to KO it. And then he's just in a really bad spot here. I'm going to start clicking Sludge Bomb. He's taking 43%. Essentially, what that means is he's just taking too much damage to keep trying to recover stall because eventually I'm going to get the poison proc with the sludge bomb and outpace the healing. So it's inevitable that I eventually get that poison on there. It's a 30% rate. He's avoided it twice. The odds are not in his favor for that to continue. So he's more or less forced to attack and throw away the Q Black. Uh, Unfortunate for him. At this point, the game is kind of getting out of hand for him. He's going to come in with the Alolan Persian, which I think he should have thrown away very early in this game rather than the Megalopony. But he's going to Nasty Plot just to try to offer something as a scare. I'm going to Giga Drain just because I wasn't sure what it was going to do. Obviously, it's going to KO me on this next attack, and it still outspeeds my Mega Venusaur, so I'm going to do the responsible thing and throw away my Smeargle because he's done all I need him to do this game, and he only has 1% to lose. I know reliably because it's leftovers that it's showing as the item. I know I'm going to outspeed this with my Genesect, and I can pretty freely again click U-turn, get the KO there, come in with Mega Venusaur because none of the Aegislash sleep turns have happened yet, so I can pretty freely click Earth Power here and do massive amounts of damage with the Earth Power, enough to 2-hit KO it, and then the Earth Power is going to confirm the kill. And then he's going to bring in the Melodic. Just nothing this Melodic can do. It can't outpace the Giga Drain damage I'm about to put on it, 54%, plus the burn damage means that it's just not in a position to do anything. I was able to avoid the freeze shenanigans, which is also very fortunate. But I get the Melodic out of play, and that is the game. So as I mentioned a couple of times now, I saw very clearly from the team he had available to him that he just had a very rough time handling hazards, but he also wasn't incentivized to bring hazard control just because I don't threaten a lot of hazards. So I figured if I can get Smeargle and he doesn't bring Togekiss, then I'm in a really, really good spot in this game. I knew if I bring Smeargle and he sees Smeargle in team preview, he's going to lead Megalopony or Kyurem Black. I get the Megalopony lead, which I like. I'm able to scare out the Megalopony with the Rocky Helmet Pyukumuku so that it can't even successfully U-turn. Although it could have done that, and that probably would have broken up my game a little bit. That's the reason I considered running Baton Pass, because if I had Baton Passed and it decided to U-turn, then I still maintain that momentum, and I'm still able to get Smeargle onto the field for free against something that can't get past the Sash. So all in all, I was really happy with how that leadoff went. And then I was just generally able to control momentum throughout this game. I expected Blacephalon to be the real breaker that would clean things up in the end game, just because I just needed to remove my Lodic or Lopunny from play, and then I could spam a button pretty freely, whether that be Shadow Ball or Flamethrower. Surprisingly, it was Mega Venusaur that came in clutch and started tearing through things at the end just because he got a really nice Giga Drain on the Groudon. It just tore through the Milotic, and then the Aegislash didn't have an answer for it. And then once the Kyurem Black was low enough, it couldn't get past the Mega Venusaur. The game really just fell out of hand. So all in all, very satisfied that I was able to change up my normal playstyle and get very strong results with the new plan. I am still not confident on how to use my psychic mode on my team. I need to figure that out sooner rather than later so I can make sure opponents feel threatened by that potential. I know that a lot of people have aggressively prepped to handle Halucha, and I have yet to bring it in the first 3 weeks. And eventually people are going to stop prepping for it well, and I need to get the timing right on that so that the week they under prep for it is the week that it comes in and does massive amounts of work. But all in all, very satisfied with how my season is going so far. I have made it pretty clear I was not fond of it as the season began, but it's turning out to synergize in ways I wasn't fully expecting, and pieces are getting much more utility than I expected out of them. Larry continues to be the menace I hoped he would in the Ubers format, but Smeargle was able to make a really great debut this week. Mega Venusaur continues to be reliable. Zygarde did not have to do anything this week, but just his general ability to threaten the opponents was again very powerful in affecting team prep. And so I remain excited about his potential throughout the season. I look forward to finding new ways to use him. But all in all, I moved to 3-0. I believe a positive 11 differential, as I should take hold of the number one overall standing in the league after this week, unless I think one person 6-0s, and then we would tie. So, yeah, just stay tuned for more videos. I have my semifinals match for my XPDLA to talk about soon, so stay tuned for that.